Today, I want to share a story that deeply impacted me and completely transformed the way I understand medicine. A gentleman who was 94 years old, Mr. Ernest, came to my office and left me speechless when he told me that he still maintains firm erections without using medications, injections, or hormone therapies. His secret lies in a simple habit that he has practiced for more than 4 decades. Honestly, neither medical textbooks nor the cases I had studied prepared me for the lesson that Mr. Ernest would teach me. Many men believe that with age sexual function inevitably declines, and that losing the ability to have an erection is simply part of aging. But what if I told you that this is not completely true? What if a small, natural, and accessible habit could change that belief entirely? In this story, I will reveal the exact strategy that Mr. Ernest follows and the scientific evidence that supports it. You will learn how to improve the firmness of your erections, optimize circulation, care for your prostate health, and regain sexual vitality without depending on drugs. But before revealing his secret, I want to briefly explain what happens in the body after the age of 60, because understanding this will make the power of this daily habit much clearer. Let us begin with the story that changed everything for me as a physician. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when Mr. Ernest entered my office without a cane, without anyone helping him, only with a confident smile. What he shared completely challenged my understanding of male vitality in older age. It was not just a routine checkup, but the moment in which I discovered one of the most surprising and powerful lessons of my career. I will never forget the day he arrived. 94 years old, standing tall, walking with a steady step, head high, chest open, full of energy. Most men at that age slow down, depend on medications, or need assistance for their daily care, but he did not. He showed a calm confidence with a brightness in his eyes that, honestly, is rarely seen even in much younger men. I greeted him like any other patient, thinking he might want an arterial checkup, a prostate evaluation, or a routine physical exam, but within a few minutes I understood that this visit was different. After the examination, I asked the usual questions. How is your health and your sexual function? He smiled, looked me in the eyes and said, I still have erections every morning when I wake up. I thought I had misunderstood, so I repeated the question, and he smiled again. I still can, firm, stable, without any problem. I am 94, not 104. He was not bragging, he was simply stating the truth. As a physician who has spent more than 10 years treating men with erectile dysfunction, prostate issues, and low testosterone levels, I was completely astonished. How could this be possible? What did he have that was different from hundreds of men I have treated, many of them 30 years younger and unable to maintain sexual activity? So I asked him directly, what is your secret, Mr. Ernest? I will never forget his answer. I do only one thing every day, a habit that I began when I was around 52 years old. It is simple, natural, and I swear it works. I thought it would be something complicated, some expensive supplement, or a strange treatment, but no. What he told me was so simple, so easy to overlook, that I almost laughed, but I did not, because the result was standing right in front of me. That conversation completely changed the way I view aging, male health, and the perception of what is considered normal after 60. Mr. Ernest was not an exception. His life showed that some rules must be rewritten. What he shared next gave me one of the simplest and most powerful tools that I now use with my patients every day. Allow me to show you exactly what this habit is and why it is more effective than most people imagine. To be honest, at first I did not fully believe him. I nodded politely, but I thought, it cannot be that simple, right? However, I still asked, what is this habit that you have maintained for more than 40 years? He smiled again and said, every morning, without fail, I eat a handful of mixed nuts and seeds. That's simple. That's simple? A handful of nuts? No pills, no devices, no complicated routines? I was surprised, a bit skeptical. But the way he spoke, his conviction and certainty, made me stop. And then I remembered what I had seen in the examination room. A man nearly 95 years old, still mentally sharp, physically flexible, and yes, still sexually active. That kind of vitality could not just be luck. I began to investigate thoroughly. I reviewed scientific studies, medical articles, nutrition research, blood flow data, any information that could help me understand what was happening in his body. To my surprise, the evidence was there, solid and more extensive than I expected. This daily habit not only helped him maintain erections, but also strengthened his entire vascular system, protecting his heart, brain, and prostate. The specific nutrients in nuts and seeds such as magnesium, zinc, selenium, healthy fats, and especially L-arginine worked together to increase circulation, reduce inflammation, and optimize the body's natural function. I remembered hundreds of men I had seen frustrated, ashamed, or even defeated by the loss of sexual health. They had been told that the loss of vigor was just part of aging, and here was a patient challenging aging with something so simple and accessible. It was almost unbelievable. From that moment on, I began recommending this method to other patients. In the months and years that followed, the results continued to prove its effectiveness. But it was not only about what he ate, it was about why it worked so well. What was happening inside his vascular and hormonal system that made this habit have such a powerful impact? That is when everything became truly fascinating. Let me explain the science behind it. This will reveal why nuts are the most underestimated and powerful natural erection enhancer. As I continued researching and listening to patients who adopted this habit, something became very clear. What Mr. Ernest was doing was not just healthy, it was biologically remarkable. Nuts are not simply a snack. They are the natural version of Viagra, but without side effects. This is something that many people do not understand, neither patients nor doctors. To achieve an erection, blood must flow freely into the tissue of the penis. This flow depends almost entirely on the flexibility and openness of the blood vessels, and this is where nitric oxide plays a crucial role. Nitric oxide is a molecule that the body produces naturally, which relaxes and widens blood vessels. It is also the compound that medications like Viagra target. Without enough nitric oxide, even if there is sexual desire, the body cannot respond. Now comes the most surprising part. Several of the nuts that Mr. Ernest consumed every day are rich in L-arginine, a natural amino acid that increases nitric oxide levels. When L-arginine enters the system, it converts into nitric oxide and signals the blood vessels to dilate, allowing more oxygen-rich blood to flow where it is needed and function at the right moment. This effect not only improves erections, but also strengthens the entire cardiovascular system. I began to realize that what Mr. Ernest was truly doing was maintaining healthy circulation from the inside out. He was not fighting the signs of aging with medications or surgery. He was preventing them from the start. Over time, my own patients began to reflect this. Men who had suffered weak or inconsistent erections for years began to notice firmer and more stable responses, sometimes only a few weeks after changing their morning habits. They also reported more energy, greater mental clarity, and a more positive mood. All of this comes from that natural daily boost in blood flow. But what if I told you that there is even more? Because although blood flow is essential, it is only one part of the equation. The real secret lies in the specific types of nuts that Mr. Ernest consumed and what each one contributes to his body. Let me show you 6 of the most notable ones and why I now consider them erection superfoods. Once I understood how this habit stimulated blood flow, I wanted to know which nuts offered the most powerful effects. Not all nuts are the same, and what Mr. Ernest did was brilliant, whether he realized it or not. He chose a very specific combination of natural foods, each with a unique role in supporting his sexual health. I began calling them erection superfoods because that is truly what they are. Let me introduce the 6 main ones that were part of his routine and that I now recommend to almost all older men who visit my office. Pistachios stand out immediately. They are rich in L-arginine, yes, but they also contain antioxidants and plant compounds that improve the flexibility of blood vessels. Clinical studies have shown that erectile function can noticeably improve only weeks after including pistachios in the diet. Walnuts are another powerful ally, rich in omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation and improve blood fluidity, which is crucial for consistent and healthy circulation. Almonds provide vitamin E and magnesium, both essential for maintaining hormonal balance and nerve function. Hazelnuts, also rich in vitamin E, are ideal for keeping testosterone levels steady. Then there are Brazil nuts, my personal favorite to recommend because they contain selenium. Selenium is vital for testosterone production and overall sperm health. Lastly, pumpkin seeds loaded with zinc help regulate libido and protect the prostate, something absolutely crucial for men. Each one has its own benefits, but together they create a synergy, a natural recipe that strengthens the vascular system, supports hormonal balance, and nourishes the body as it was designed to function. No synthetic products, no side effects, just powerful raw foods. Despite so many benefits, my patients often express a concern. It is a valid concern, usually something like, do nuts have too much fat? Will they make me gain weight? It is a good question, and the answer may surprise you. Let me explain what you really need to know about fats, portion control, and how to use this habit wisely. The concern about fats is common, and I understand it perfectly. Many of my patients grew up in the era of low-fat diets, when we were told that fat was the enemy. That is why when I suggest eating nuts every day, their first reaction is usually hesitation. But what most people do not understand is that the fats in nuts are some of the healthiest and most protective nutrients you can put into your body, especially as you age. These are not fats that clog arteries or accumulate in the most stubborn abdominal areas. They are unsaturated fats, omega-3 fatty acids, and monounsaturated fats that help reduce inflammation, regulate cholesterol, and protect the heart. They work like internal lubricants, keeping blood vessels flexible and elastic so blood flows freely, even in the most important places for intimacy. In addition, these fats are essential for brain function and hormone production. This translates to better concentration, sharper memory, and balanced testosterone levels. So by eating a handful of these nuts each day, you are not only benefiting your sexual health, but also investing in longevity, mental sharpness, and emotional resilience. Here's the truth about calories. Yes, nuts are calorie-dense, but they're also extremely filling. This means you will feel full for longer, reducing the temptation to consume processed or sugary foods, which are the real causes of weight gain and metabolic problems. You only need one handful, around 40 to 60 grams. It is not about eating more, but eating smarter. That 94-year-old patient who inspired all of this did not overeat or count every calorie. He simply made one small conscious choice every day, and that consistency gave him results, not only in the bedroom, but in his entire health. But I want something to be very clear. This is not only about science. It is also about something deeper, something emotional, something that many men are afraid to admit out loud. In the next story, I want to talk about what happens to self-esteem when intimacy disappears and how this simple daily habit can restore much more than physical function. As I have spoken with more patients over the years, certain patterns repeat themselves not only in their words, but in their eyes, their posture, their energy. It is not just about erections, it is about identity. That is why this daily habit gives men more than physical strength. It gives them back dignity, connection, and a part of themselves they believed was lost. I have seen it too many times. A man in his 60s, 70s, or older comes into my office after years of silence, embarrassment, or shame. Sometimes he has already given up, his relationship is struggling, or he simply wants to feel like himself again. When we truly talk, he is not just looking for medical advice, he is looking for hope. That is why I do not see erectile dysfunction as a matter of vanity, but as a matter of quality of life. When a man trusts his own body, everything changes. He walks differently, he speaks with more conviction, and he presents himself as a more whole version of who he is, both for his partner and for himself. That is what Mr. Ernest understood better than anyone. He never saw this as something trivial. He respected his body and cared enough about it to nourish it and invest in it day after day. That is what this habit represents. Not a quick fix, not a shortcut, but a commitment, a silent promise to stay full of life in every way. You do not need to do it perfectly, and you do not need to solve everything at once. You only need to begin. One handful of nuts each morning. If you are still listening, you are likely wondering the same question many of my patients ask: is it really too late for me? And to that, I want to say something that every man over 60 should hear clearly. In this final part, I want to explain why I truly believe it is never too late to feel like a man again. That is the most important thing. It is never too late to reconnect with yourself. I have spent more than 10 years listening to men like you who have been told by doctors, by society, or by their own internal voice that aging means giving up passion, intimacy, and the confidence they once had. But that idea is far from the truth. I have seen firsthand that even at 60, 70, or 80 years old, the body still wants to respond. It simply needs the right support. We talked about Mr. Ernest, a man of 94 years whose simple daily habit allowed him to challenge almost every expectation about aging. No pills, no shortcuts, just a handful of raw and natural foods, nuts and seeds rich in nutrients like L-arginine, magnesium, zinc, selenium, and omega, 3 fatty acids that quietly supported his blood circulation, balanced his hormones, and maintained his vitality. We explored how these nutrients support the production of nitric oxide, relax blood vessels, protect the prostate, and improve much more than erections, overall health, from mental clarity to heart function. We addressed misconceptions about fats and calories and why eating intelligently, rather than simply eating less, is the real key to healthy aging. Even more importantly, we touched on something many ignore: the emotional weight of feeling disconnected from a part of themselves, the part that still wants to connect, to love, and to feel alive. If there is only one thing you take from this story, let it be this: you are not broken. Your body still remembers how to function. It only needs the right tools, the right fuel, and the right attention. A new chapter is possible, not by chasing youth, but by embracing wisdom, consistency, and truth. So tomorrow morning, when you are standing in your kitchen, consider what that small handful of nuts could mean. It is more than nutrition. It is a choice to invest in yourself, to believe that you still matter, and to reclaim a part of your life that you thought was gone forever. Because the truth is that strength is not something you once had, it is something you still possess, and now is the time to claim it again. If this message has touched you, even a little, take a moment to like this video, share it with another man who needs to hear it, and leave a comment with your thoughts or questions. Your voice matters, you are not alone, and your participation keeps this mission alive. Thank you for being part of this.